Hi, good morning. I am Sherri Cunningham. I am a practitioner here with the Jacksonville Centers for Spiritual Living, and that book too is one of my favorites. It is beautifully written, and I feel that it was at a time in Ernest Holmes' life where he was feeling very poetic and not so scientific and so wordy, where it is one of those books that are small and really get into the root of this teaching and how it can show up in our lives. So if you're looking for something inspirational, that is definitely one of the better texts in the teaching. Wow, today, a week before Christmas. I hope everybody's like able to come down a little bit and calm and get some self-care in this week and really kind of slow down a little bit. And I know I'm grateful. You know, my son is in Iraq right now and doing his thing. And my daughter is in Ocala and she's coming up next week to spend like a week with us. So I'm pretty excited about that. So, but a few minutes ago, Reverend Elizabeth spoke about the vision at CSL Jacksonville. And I just wanted to add my piece to it before I started my talk. Because this is a very unique opportunity that Reverend Dr. Elizabeth has given Dietra and I to be able to speak regularly at the Center for Spiritual Living Jacksonville. And this teaching has been a part of my life for almost 40 years. When I was thinking, I was trying to calculate, I'm like, oh my God, has it been that long? It has literally been that long. From a young teenager to now a licensed practitioner. And so that journey through this whole thing, you know, it's beyond my wildest dreams, you know, but what it has taught me is that I can incorporate these things into my life on a daily basis. I can live these teachings and I can be these teachings and not just read about them. You know, it's very different to be educated on a subject, right? And then to be able to then talk about it and actually live it at the same time, you know, to taking these teachings into my soul. It's allowed me to transform how I show up every day, you know, so that is super important. And it resonates through me, and I am able to express my own experience, strength, and hope, you know, to a group of like-minded people on a Sunday morning is super special to me, and it fills my tanks beyond anything that I have ever experienced. And, you know, this is my why. This is why I support it energetically and financially, because I want it to continue. You know, I want it to grow. I want us to like be, you know, I came from Mile High Church in Denver, Colorado. So if you've ever had an opportunity to go there or to experience that, I highly recommend it because it's life-changing. But anyways, that's all, you know, I wanted to put my 2 cents in on that. So it's like, I need to talk about that more before we kind of get rolling. My talk today is the title of A Gift of a New Journey. You know, we come to the end of another year. You know, we know time is passing, right? You know, we've got the calendar marking the rest of the days, you know, how many days we have till the end of the year, like 10, 12. And by the way, my birthday is on New Year's Eve on December 31st. And the whole world celebrates my birthday. You know, we see it by the changing of the seasons, you know, and I don't know about you, but I feel it in the aches and pains of getting up in the morning sometimes. It's like, you know, time, you know, we're not 20 years old anymore. We're not teenagers anymore. So, you know, but if we really look at it, we're given that gift of a new journey in every decision we make. You know, it doesn't have to just be this calendar time of age, you know, but it is in every moment of every decision I make during the day. You know, we're taught at the Centers for Spiritual Living and from Ernest Holmes that life is infinite, it is eternal and ever expanding, right? Our purest self, our God self, cannot be sick, hurt, or destroyed. You know, we're not talking about this physical shell that we come into when we come into this plane of existence. We're talking about the center, the light, the wholeness, the oneness that is God internal, right? So that's what I'm referring to when I say that. We're not denying that the body gets sick. We're not denying that, we die or we pass or we leave this body. We're not denying that at all. So know that I'm referring to this internal part. We can be presented with a situation and we get to choose, right? Am I going to choose love or am I going to choose fear? Those are, Course in Miracles, one of my other favorite textbooks, says there are only two choices. There's fear and there's love. It makes it super easy, because if I am not consciously choosing love, I am automatically choosing fear, right? Fear, you can be like, well, I'm not afraid, but am I judging? Am I condemning? Am I doing things? Am I talking poorly about myself? Am I talking poorly about other people? Am I doing fear-like behaviors? Because remember, there are only two. So anything that is not love is automatically fear. So when I finally connected those dots and was able to take that in as a very simple litmus test, I guess you could call it, it makes those decisions in those situations very simple. No matter what, that choice is always mine, right? We have the power to create the life we desire and become that which we think about most. Do we think about joy and love and prosperity, or do we think about, oh my God, look what's happening in the world, it's falling apart. This world is just so crazy. Or am I looking at it and I'm saying, there's something in here. There's something in here to learn. I have the power to create the life that I desire. Come on. Can I actually believe that? What if I actually believe that? I'm not listening to I'm not listening to the people that aren't supporting me. I'm not listening to the news. I'm not listening to society. I'm listening to my heart and my soul, my inner God, to tell me that I can do that. I am not a victim of everything that has happened to me up to this moment. I get to choose that, even if every single decision up to this point I have. But I can just stop and I can pause and I can say, okay, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired and I want a different experience. Okay. The universe is actually responding for me, not against me. It sounds simple when we hear it from some place we trust or something that inspires us, but it's a whole nother story to be in that moment and making that decision. So I just encourage everyone to kind of, Reverend Elizabeth earlier in the year, encourage us to have a journal when we came onto these notebooks and journals, just kind of scribble stuff down as we hear it. And for me, those are very powerful words to continue to use. In these moments is where the understanding of universal law comes into place. The Centers for Spiritual Living teaches things about these universe, the law of gravity, the law of attraction, everything else. But what we have to decide in all things, where are we going to see love? The universal law says that there is no yes and no. There is no positive and negative. There's no anything. It just is, right? So if we take that understanding that everything just is and move from that point, it will change your life. What if we gave up our seat on the victim and fear bus for an individual experience of love? What if we did that? Now we can say it like, what if everybody did it? But no, that's pushing it out. What if I just said, I'm getting off the bus? I'm going to choose a different experience. So there's 13 people on this call. How, when you look at the at the effect of single decisions, what it does to everything outside. What if we as 13 people said, I'm getting off the bus. I'm going to choose love. I am going to decide I want a different experience. You know, it's everything as it should be, no matter what. You know, what if we thought that it was all for the highest, greatest good of all? You know, I know it can be difficult. And I know that the ego and the fear pushes back very hard and when we look out into the world and say, this is all for the highest and greatest good of all. This is all for the evolution of the human race, right? As we all come together. Sometimes we push off of each other, but we ultimately come back together, which is the point of the entire exercise, correct? You know, as I was typing this talk yesterday, I was out on my swing in the backyard. I had Reiki next to me, my little dog, my little Shih Tzu. I was drinking a cup of coffee that my most beautiful and wonderful partner, Robert, brought me earlier in the morning. He brings me coffee every morning, just so you know. It's one of the gifts I love so much. You know, I'm amongst the blueberry bushes and the banana trees. And I'm just looking around going, wow, like this is the result of deciding that I want a different experience, right? You know, I often think back to 2017, which I consider my crucible year. You know, we all have them, right? Those times in our lives when every single decision up to that point, right, has come down upon us, compressed us into this like, we can feel it. It's a physical reaction, right? No, we've chosen fear for so long that the soul is starting to respond, right, in a physical manner. You know, it can be, you know, often here when I feel disconnected, something physical happens to me, whether I fall or, you know, something weird happens or I get a cold or, you know, that's how I know when I'm disconnected, right? Is in those moments, you know, and like I said, my soul started to cry out for something new, you know, especially in those moments if there is tiny cracks starting to form, you know, in those crucible moments, you know, it is in those cracks in the vase. My sister said this to me once. She's like, you know, those cracks is where the crack is where the light comes in, you know, where the light goes out. So the cracks are fine as we start to feel the crumbling of our past decisions and our past exercises in life, right? So it begins to heal when we trust and feel like it's not me doing it. It's not my ego. I am not physically having to do anything. In that moment, that year in 2017, it felt like choices were being made and decisions were being made that I really did not have a physical choice in, right? It was all just kind of happening, you know, one right after another, you know, and I know with almost 5 years of sobriety, both physical and emotional, I do feel that they have to be hand in hand, you know, the physical and the emotional sobriety, that the universe, my higher power, and God took the wheel. That's the only way that I can explain it, you know, and within 350 days, my entire world changed. My gift of a new journey began because that's the only way that I can explain when things started unrolling. You know, it went from one thing to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, until I look back, you know, and in those moments, we can't really see it, right? It's at that when we go through to the other side and look back and we're like, wow, that was crazy, but man, look what's happened on the other side. It's crazy. But at the time I was in it, hell. It was emotional. It was angry. It was confusing. It was all of those things, but, Ernest Holmes, Bill Wilson, and Helen Schucman. Helen Schucman was one of the writers of A Course in Miracles, told me over and over again that my past was not bound by precedent. That any moment I can choose again to have a different experience, right? Any moment. I was told by people that I trusted that in the beginning I could fake it until I made it, right? I could pretend that it was all going to be okay. I could pretend that this was for my highest good, even though my ego wouldn't let me believe it initially. And I knew enough to know that that was my ego talking, that it was fear talking. And that small leap of faith cracked the shell wide open. It cracked that base of my protected little self wide open. It begins to let the universe flow through me and work through me for me. And I really didn't have to do a whole lot. It took those moments to demonstrate exactly what I am to do with my life, to show me exactly who and what I am. I believe so much about lesson 61 in the Course in Miracles, and it is that it says, I am the light of the world. This is my only function. This is why I am here. I took that into everything that I was, who I am, and how I approach life in the world. For me, when things move easily and quickly and without effort, I know that's God working through me, that it's not me. As those that for me, that's how God shows me that it's working with me, because it's just like do, and it unravels like a slinky. It's fantastic, And one of those examples is when Spirit brought Reverend Dr. Elizabeth and I together over a jar of honey. Almost 2 years ago, right? And a year later, I'm taking my boards in Orlando, finishing my practitioner's license. When I thought that was gone forever, I had set it aside and left it to be whatever it was going to be. But something told me to not get rid of my papers, to not get rid of my books, to not get rid of all of the educational material that came with that process. And when you go through those crucible moments, right? I don't know about you, but I tend to clean everything out, right? You clean out drawers, you clean out closets, you clean out, because that's what we were told. It's like you have to make space for the energy to come in by getting rid of all the things that no longer serve, right? So I did some serious cleaning, and those things I was told to keep, and I did. And that's God in action for me, is those moments. This whole thing is God in action for me. That was 100,000 girls doing what they do by making honey so that I could do what I do. It is all connected. All of the decisions we make are connected. We may not know it for a long time. I didn't know a year earlier when I decided to start being a beekeeper to help give my daughter something to do. And then she ran off to the woods and I still decided to do the bees, and here we are. That's all connected. As long as I'm answering in love, as long as I'm taking that question that's coming up and answering it in love, it's all going to be okay. And it's not for me to understand at the moment. My ego is like, what's happening? Why are we doing this? And I can be like, I don't know. And I can be okay with that. Matthew chapter 17, verse 20 says, all I have to do is have the faith of a mustard seed. Have you actually ever seen a mustard seed? It's really small. It's really, really tiny. You know, everyone on this call has had these crucible moments, you know, or we wouldn't be here. You know, this teaching brings people who have had experiences that they can't explain. You know, we want the gift of a new spiritual journey. You know, we don't resonate anymore with the God of our parents, and that's okay. Is that the ironic part is that it's all good because it's all God. No matter how it's packaged or delivered, the point is to open the package. You know, we have to choose to open the package, to explore what resonates with us. Chances are high that if you're on this call, you're a seeker. You feel that there has to be something more than fear and damnation. You know, that God doesn't hate us, doesn't judge us. You know, it just is, right? We go back to the universal law. It doesn't know yes or no. It doesn't know positive, negative. It just is, right? So we get back to life what we put into it. You know, and I'm not referring to the physical, what I put into my life, that day-to-day grind, right? For my paycheck, for my cars, you know, for the relationships, the houses, you know, that's not what I'm talking about when I say, you know, we get back what we put into it. I'm referring to the energetic life, you know, the spiritual life, the internal connection level of effort, right? So my prayer and my meditation and, you know, being involved in this community and doing my part to make sure that this center continues and that we grow and that we get to share this message. That's what I'm talking about, the internal level of effort. You know, this weekend, actually, we move into the last full moon of the year, right? You know, and not only that, the winter solstice is Tuesday. So we have the full moon and the winter solstice and the longest day of the winter, right? And then we'll start moving into the longer days of spring and that to show us the gift of a new journey, that new journey in the celestial plane, as well as our spiritual plane and our physical plane and the gardens and the trees and the flowers. You know, Dietrich talked about, you know, be wary of that garden of your soul. You know, we can't just say, I want a different experience and not do anything about it. We have to do our part. You know, when the weeds of fear and anger and anxiety and financial insecurity and all of those things start coming up, we have to pause and we have to decide that what we're going to do about them. And we're going to pick them and we're going to heal them so that the flowers of joy and peace and serenity can then come up, right? You know, we learned, Katie and I learned that when we went to go plant some kale. You know, I've got beds in the front yard that aren't doing very well. And the ones we did in the backyard and planted the new kale, because we tilled up the dirt really good and we mixed it really good. They're like huge, you know, but the ones in the front yard that we didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to aren't doing very well, you know? So it's like, oh, well, maybe we should like go take care of them. You know, I would encourage you to spend the next few days outside in the moonlight, if you don't already do that, and really kind of soak it in, you know, and feel the presence of the universe in spirit, in meditation and prayer outside. You know, we watched a big chunk of the football game outside last night, and boy, was it amazing just to be outside. You know, I'll go out in the middle of the night because the moonlight will shine in my window and it just the right to wake me up in the middle of the night. And I'll be like, oh, look. And I'll go outside and I'll just stand there for a few minutes. And it's pretty amazing. You know, we choose to open the crack a little bit more and let the universe pour through you, you know, and just trust with that faith of a mustard seed that we can have a different experience. We can choose again, no matter what. No matter what experience we've had before now, no matter what we think is going to happen tomorrow, we get to choose again. We get to choose again. And I really, really appreciate everyone being here today. And thank you very much. And so it is.